Kirtan for a few minutes and then we're going to have some discussion. Hopefully it'll be an interesting conversation. Okay.
Jaya
Okay, so thank you for coming, Hare Krishna. So we're going to speak a little bit about outreach in the 21st century. What we hope to do in this session is to maybe share some ideas, plant some seeds, some thoughts that could be of value to you. So what we'll do is we'll also read from the Bhagavatam, maybe one or two places, to set some context as well. So if you could please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so I was trying to find a particular verse in the Bible that I was wanting to read from. So we're going to read from this is the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, so you can follow first canto, chapter number 16. Okay. Yeah. First canto, chapter 5, text number 16. Okay. I'm going to read from one other verse. But this one's very interesting for me because it really touches upon some key points that we need to be conscious of or aware of when we're trying to benefit the world and benefit others. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just read the Sanskrit. We won't do call and response, but I'll read the Sanskrit, the translation, and then we're going to read the purport as well. And what I'm going to ask you to do as we read the purport is to really tune in to what Prabhupada is saying, especially in the purport. Okay, so. Okay. Vichakshanosya hati veditum vibho ananta parasya nivrittaha sukham pravataman nasya gune anatmanas tato bhavanda shaya chetistam vibhu. Translation. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Good to see you. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality, retired from the activities of material happiness, deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Interesting statement. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your good. Wonderful verse, right? Instructive in of itself. And then we're going to hear now the purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Theological science is a difficult subject. So as we go through this purport, please really pay attention to what he's saying, because there's a lot that Prabhupada is mentioning here. And as with many different ways in which Prabhupada conveys a message, even one sentence has so much deeper meaning. Theological science is a difficult subject, especially when it deals with the transcendental nature of God. It is not a subject matter to be understood by persons who are too much attached to material activities. Only the very expert who have almost retired from materialistic activities by culture of spiritual knowledge can be admitted to the study of this great science. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that out of many hundreds of thousands of men, only one person deserves to enter into transcendental realization. And out of many thousands of such transcendentally realized persons, only a few can understand the theological science specifically dealing with God as a person. Sri Vyasadeva is therefore advised by Narada to describe the science of God directly by relating his transcendental activities. Vyasadeva is himself a personality expert in this science, and he is unattached to material enjoyment. Therefore, he is the right person to describe it, and Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, is the right person to receive it. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost theological science. It can react on the layman as medicinal doses. We talked about this before, this idea of medicine. React on the layman as medicinal doses. Because it contains the transcendental activities of the Lord, there is no difference between the Lord and the literature. The literature is the factual, literary incarnation of the Lord. That's one for the book distributor as well, right? Okay. You distribute Krishna directly. So the layman can hear a narration of the activities of the Lord, thereby able to associate with the Lord, and thus gradually become purified from material diseases. The expert devotees can also, this is important as well, the expert devotees can also discover novel ways and means to convert the non-devotees in terms of particular time and circumstance. So, devotion is dynamic activity, and the expert devotees can find out competent means to inject it into the dull brains of the materialistic population. So transcendental activities of the devotees for the service of the Lord can bring a new order of life to the foolish society of materialistic men. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his subsequent followers exhibited expert dexterity in this connection. By following the same method, one can bring the materialistic men of this age of quarrel into order for peaceful life and transcendental realization. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Zahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Virjana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Shakam Vitamscha Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakapaturvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Tatitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, outreach in the 21st century. So what we wanted to do is touch on a few ideas, a few things to consider, including also the mood of which our outreach is. Okay. So where to begin? Yeah. So we should begin on the inside. Okay. There's this statement. I heard this in a class many years ago. This is Krishna consciousness is like the mafia. Once you join, you can never leave because you know too much. So, outreach begins with in-reach, actually. Sometimes devotees are very excited about all these many different techniques to spread the mission, many different strategies to spread the mission, and there's a place for them. There's definitely a place for them. But the story begins within the heart. the transcendental science of Krishna consciousness is conveyed on the basis of conviction. So if someone is Krishna conscious, or at least endeavoring sincerely to be Krishna conscious, if we are engaging in the practice of Krishna consciousness in a sincere and serious way, then that first connection, that fundamental connection takes place. That fundamental connection is that you are attuned to Krishna. Right? You are attuned to the mercy of Krishna. We sometimes hear about this idea of surrender. The surrender is a journey, and there are degrees of surrender. So, outreach means inreach. The more that I am convinced about Krishna consciousness, the more that I am hearing regularly with the proper mood, the more that I'm reading regularly with the proper mood, the more that I'm associating with devotees regularly in the proper mood, the more that I'm chanting the holy names of Krishna properly with the proper mood. What that does is it connects me to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And who is Krishna? Aham savasya prabhavo matasadam pravatite iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samambitaha. He's actually the source of everything. As you go out and about in the world, you see different, like especially in New York, all these skyscrapers, all these big buildings, all of these different things. Right? All of this belongs to Krishna. And if you read and hear sincerely, that will become your default understanding. So you may have some rich or wealthy person, they think that building belongs to them. It belongs to Krishna. Prabhupada was speaking to one Indian gentleman, and you're saying that if someone does not engage all of their resources in Krishna's service, they're a thief. And the Indian gentleman said to Prabhupada, no, you don't understand, Swamiji. I give to charity. I give money to charity. Prabhupada said, oh, so then you're a small thief. So the point is that because everything belongs to Krishna, actually, under all circumstances, is actually under his control. If we are properly attuned to Krishna, then we come into the same situation that Arjuna was in. What did Krishna tell Arjuna on the battlefield? He said, you see the other side, which consists, by the way, of your friends and family. They're already dead. But I want you to be an instrument of my will. Okay? So it has been predicted in these scriptures. The Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has started, it's not just prediction, he's already started this mission, this Sankirtan Yajna. And this Sankirtan Yajna has been taken to the Western world, actually taken to the whole world by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada was also predicted, by the way. He was predicted in the literature called the Chaitanya Mangala. He was predicted by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the literature called the Sajjana Tushanti. So he's predicted in many places. Sometimes he is named as the Senapati Bhatta, the commander-in-chief of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own army. Right? Chaitanya is teaching our Bhasha. There will be one who will come. It will be like a bounty hunter, the commander-in-chief of my army, who will spread it across the whole world. And so, within that context, our role is to assist Prabhupada. What we're doing in this mission is assisting Prabhupada. And the first thing is to connect. Okay? When we are properly connected, then everything else comes. The intelligence comes. The drive comes. When we were doing this retreat with the youth in Gita Nagari recently, we were explaining the retreat was on a few different topics. One of them was faith. So in Patanjali Muni's Yoga Sutras, I think it's the first section, verse number 20, it says, Shraddha, virya, smriti. Shraddha, faith, gives virya, great drive, confidence, determination, and it gives smriti. Smriti means the ability to hold the meaning of the scriptures within your heart. Yeah? Smriti also means great concentration. Absorbed in the service. So this first aspect of outreach is inreach. As much as we are availing to receiving Krishna, that really determines in a very major way how we're able to share Krishna with other people. Whether we or not, our example is communicated in all ways, all times. So we could say, yes, I spoke to someone, I preached to them, I shared something with them. That's only one dimension of communication. Whether you speak or don't speak, you carry a certain type of consciousness. And that consciousness is also communicating to other people, many times on a very, very subtle level. Right? So what we are is the preaching, and then on occasion we may also talk. Okay, that's how it actually works. So if we are serious about trying to share compassionately Krishna consciousness with other people, it is very, very important that we take our own practice of Krishna consciousness seriously. Okay, and that practice what is that force? Nasta Preshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloka Bhagavati Naishtaki. That service should be Nityam. Bhagavata Sevaya. So it's not a one-off thing. We're continually tuning ourselves in more and more to Krishna's message, Krishna's teachings, Krishna's devotees. And if we do that, then he promises something. Tesham satatayuktanam vajatam pridipurvakam dadam yogam tam yena mamupayanti se. If we do that, he will give us the intelligence by which we can come to him. Now, more than that, he will also give us the intelligence by which we can help other people to come to him. Okay? So that's the backdrop. In this particular verse and purport, which is really such a incredible verse and purport, is saying many different things. You read this section, a couple of sections, just to remind ourselves. 5:16, the expert can also discover novel ways and means to convert the non-devotees in terms of particular time and circumstance. Traditional service is dynamic activity, and the expert devotees can find out competent means to inject in dull ways of the materialistic population. So, this is another key factor that we should be always aware of. And that is that our mission is a living mission. Right? The job of the devotees is to move the movement. That's what we're trying to do. To move the movement. As Prabhupada said here, devotional service is dynamic activity. This outreach activity has a very, very deep and very, very esoteric significance. Prabhupada said engaging in the Sankirtan Yajna is non-different from entering into the Rasa Leela. That's what he actually explains. So, how is this understood? So, Prabhupada has perfectly understood that in order to fully appreciate the eternal pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his associates is not a cheap thing. It's not a cheap thing at all. In order to do that, one has to become free of passions. So this is between lust and love. Okay? So lust is defined as the desire to gratify our own material senses. And what is love? Love is the desire to gratify the senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But that teaching is one thing to know it, but in order to do it, there has to be a process or a methodology. There has to be a process that is so deep, so intense, and so purifying that it will literally squeeze out of the heart all tendencies in the living entity to be selfish. And that activity is the act of trying to compassionately save the entire world. So this is actually the means by which we become purified, such that we can truly, and in a very healthy, spiritually healthy way, really understand Krishna. As we read in this particular purport, it's very rare for a person to understand Krishna. Right? So many people may be having some level of general realization, spiritual realization, and those people, even it's only a subsection who can understand Krishna as a person. So if we want to do this, there's also a mood to the methodology. Okay? So for this, we're going to do a little activity. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you all to stand up. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is you're going to pair up. So maybe the ladies with the ladies, the gentlemen with the gentlemen. So if you pair up, we'll just try this out. Okay. Okay. So actually, we're going to do something slightly different. So just walk around for now. Just walk around for now. Use the space in the room. Just walk around for now. Okay. Just keep walking around. And you can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. Okay, if you stop where you are. Okay, and then I'm going to ask you to pair up with someone who's near you of the same gender. Okay, so men with men, women with the women. It's okay. And I want you to face each other. Okay. You can face each other. If the gentlemen are going to do it, okay. So yeah, you can pair up. You can do it free, however you want to do it. But you're going to face each other. Yeah. Okay. So we're just going to do a little activity. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to speak a few sentences, and I just want you to, as I'm speaking these sentences, I just want you to meditate on what I'm saying as you look at the other person. So face your partner. Okay, so. Yes, you can pair up. Okay, so I'll just repeat the activity. So I'm just going to say a few sentences. As I say these sentences, I just want you to look at the other person and just reflect on what I'm saying, okay? So let's begin. So you're looking at your partner. Okay. And then just tune into some of the points. As you see the partner, I want you to consider that this person that you're looking at, this living entity that you're looking at, they've experienced difficulty, disappointment, just like you have. Okay, so think about that. When you consider that this person, as you're looking at them, that this person, they also have desires and needs, and ultimately they want to be happy, want to feel secure, they want to feel successful, just like you. And as you look at them, I want you to consider that this person that you're looking at, as you're looking at them, I want you to consider that they also desire to be free of suffering, of birth, old age, disease, death, just like you. So just take a moment to meditate on that. This person has been through difficulties, challenges, suffering. As you're looking at the other person, you're looking them in the eye. Just recognize that they've been through difficulties. challenges, suffering just like you. They also have a deep desire to be happy just like you. They also want to feel secure and be free of the difficulties of birth, old age and disease, just like you do. Okay, so just meditate on that for a moment. Okay. Thank you very much for doing that. Okay. You can reconvene as you wish. Okay. Now I want to pause for one moment before you sit down. So just stop wherever you are one moment. Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's interesting because I saw it with one group, but I just noticed the two of you. So after this activity, after we finished the activity, I said you could sit down. What did the two of you do?
We hugged.
Okay. And I didn't say anything about hugging. Which is, but it's natural. It's natural. So my question to you is, why? Why did you hug?
Because it awakens so much compassion for the other person.
And this is actually the real situation of everyone. This is actually the real situation of everyone. What we described are tenets of our own philosophy. Right? And when we speak about outreach, this mood of compassion, this is the mood that we should be conscious of and that we should be cultivating. In fact, it is actually stated that if one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra properly, one's heart will be flooded with feelings of compassion for other living entities. Okay, please sit down. We see this mood of compassion also in the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes Prabhupada would actually cry when he was considering, I think he saw some old people playing golf. And he was crying because he saw that these people who should be preparing themselves at the end of their life to return back to the spiritual world, they're wasting their time knocking a little round ball in a hole. Yeah, he felt that was really a complete waste of time. Anyway, so we have this idea that, or this understanding that there is a need to find ways to present the teachings to other people. We read that in the purple. And then we had this exercise where we understand that there's also a mood in which we're meant to reach out to other people. Okay? We also spoke about the fact that the outreach means inreach. That if we're enriching ourselves by the proper practice of Krishna consciousness, then we actually are aligned to Krishna, and therefore we can be used, just as Arjuna was used on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, to be an instrument of Krishna's will, and that's what real outreach is. Okay? All the techniques will do nothing if Krishna does not choose to use us. Yeah? So if that's clear, this is a point we want to be utilized by Krishna. So now within that context, the external aspects, and then we'll open up for some questions and answers as well. So, some of these you may have heard before, but it's good to remind ourselves. So in this purport that we read, Prabhupada talked about understanding sensitivity around time, place, and circumstance. So when we want to reach out to people and help them, it's really important where they are in order to take them where they can go. We need to pick people up where they are. So, for example, Prabhupada gave a talk at the MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and he calls Krishna consciousness spiritual technologies, which is really good branding, isn't it? You're there with technology students and you're calling it spiritual technologies. What he's doing, he's building a bridge. He's building a bridge to help them to understand. And in fact, he writes about this. It's a really nice verse. This is a really nice verse in purple, so I'll just read it to you. This is from the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 4, text number 1. So in the purple, I'll just read some of the purple where Prabhupada touches upon this. Let's see. So, personal realization does not mean that one should, out of vanity, attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous acharya. This is from part of the purple. He must have full confidence in the previous acharya, and at the same time, this is really important, at the same time he must realize the subject matter so nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstances in a suitable manner. Then Prabhupada writes, and this is in italics, the original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it, yet it should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization. The first canto, chapter 4, text number 1 in that purple. The realization. Link we spoke about before, we are hearing and reading properly and trying to understand properly. That will equip us to find more ways to present the teaching in a way that is meaningful for the audience. So meaningful means what? It means relevant and relatable by realization. Okay? We make something relevant and relatable by realization. One practice that devotees can do, if they want to really take this on board, is that when we are reading and hearing the philosophy, we can ask ourselves the question, how would I explain this to others? Okay? So if we get into that mindset, you're reading something in Prabhupada's books, you're hearing something, you think, that's an interesting point. How do I explain this to others? Yeah? And the more you do that, something very powerful happens spiritually. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's very interested in those who want to share the teaching. So if he sees that your meditation is not just for your own benefit, but you want to benefit other people, he will give you additional realization that will help you to understand how to take the teaching and to present it in different ways. One of Prabhupada's disciples asked Prabhupada, said, Prabhupada, it says that the devotees are above the modes of material nature, right? But I don't feel that I'm above the modes of material nature. How is it? Because we get affected, right? Modes of passion, mode of ignorance, mode of goodness. Prabhupada gave a brilliant analogy. This is actually, this is mentioned by one devotee in the Prabhupada Memories videos. So Prabhupada said it's just like if you're on a boat. And so you're on a boat, so technically you could say you're not in the water, right? Because the water's underneath the boat, you're on the boat. So at the same time, the boat can get rocked by the waves in the ocean. So the waves are the modes of material nature. So in one sense, we're on the transcendental platform, but because we're not so mature yet, we can still be rocked by the waves. So that kind of answer, it comes because someone is deeply realized. Because they're deeply realized, they can take something that seems to be very, very abstract, and they can explain it in such a concrete way that it completely makes sense to the individual. So there's a role, and this comes when we hear the philosophy and when we meditate on the philosophy. A lot of devotees, you can actually tell they're not thinking about what they're hearing. And because they're not thinking about what they're hearing, their understanding of the teaching is very superficial. And the difficulty is that if challenged or asked to explain, they don't know what to say because they themselves didn't deeply understand it. Make some sense? So again, not that we have to kind of, worry ourselves about it or make it some kind of mental stress, but just an awareness. How do I explain this to other people? And we can do this, we can ask each other, how do you convey this particular point? Like that. So we talked about the connection, we talked about the mood of compassion, we talked about the importance to make our teachings relevant and relatable by realization. But by meditating on it, we'll be able to convey it according to time, place, and circumstance. We'll give a few more ideas and then we'll open up for questions. So I was thinking about this question, how do you kill a culture? Right? So what's now considered to be you know, like Eastern culture, Vedic culture is often dying. And I was thinking, how is it becoming eroded? So at a certain point, when a culture is strong, you have two things. You have form and you have content, okay? So if you talk about ancient Indian culture, Vedic culture, etc.,